the Real Estate Wholesalers Club. We're all about helping you on this Saturday edition of the Shut Up Money Show. That's the hashtag Shut Up Money Show. I'm glad you're out there today. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're feeling blessed. I hope you're feeling positive. I hope you're not letting this world drain on you too much, because it sure can be a drain on you. Now, this is the last of 6 live Q&A sessions that the Real Estate Wholesalers Club does each and every week. That's right. This is the last one of 6 that we do each week. And you say 6. Yeah, that's right. 6, because we are in the VIP doing live calls 5 times a week before we get to this one. So that's Tuesday at lunchtime, Wednesday at lunchtime, Wednesday evening, Thursday at lunchtime, Friday at lunchtime, and then the Saturday Shut Up Money shows. You might say, hey, Justin, how do I participate in all that stuff? Because we don't always go live during those times. I mean, we are live and we are in this Zoom room and we are on the private VIP Facebook group. So that's how you get to be a part of those other 5 live Q&A sessions where you can bring your questions and participate. We can role play, we can practice, we can build you up and help equip you to go out there and get your hashtag Shut Up Money. So consider that. That's www.realestatewholesalersclub.com if you want to find out more. If you'd like to participate today in this public Q&A, all you have to do is put into your browser www.zoomjustin.com. If it asks you for a password, the password is lowercase money. All right. So you can come right in here into the Zoom room and ask your questions. This is designed for you. We don't have a real set agenda here today. I do have some questions from some folks that have written some things in. And in fact, one of the gentlemen that I wanted to answer his question is here in the Zoom room. It's Nate. So let's just jump right in there and do that. I'm going to put Nate's question up on the screen. Okay. It says, can a deal still be made on a home with negative equity? Okay, that's a great question, Nate. And I'm glad you asked it. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time on it this morning because we do run into properties that are they're underwater. Yeah, absolutely. Meaning they owe more than the property is worth. They owe more than the fair market value. All right. So what do you do in a situation like that where you get a lead, you figure it out by talking to them that they owe more than the property is even worth? Can you do anything, or is this a dead deal? Well, we talk about on Thursdays how if they are also in default and underwater, in other words, a foreclosure is looming on the horizon for them, then they can, of course, probably be a good candidate for a short sale. Okay. And we are connected with Bob Vieira here at Real Estate Wholesalers Club. And Bob Vieira is the owner, the creator, inventor of universalshortsales.com. Okay. So what he does is in all 50 states, he will do short sale process for you. Okay. So I like to turn over leads to Bob that are underwater and in default. Okay. But let's assume here for a moment that they're not in default. All right. That it's just somebody making the payment, living in the home probably, and they owe more than the property's worth, but they want to sell it. They want to move. Obviously, this is not going to work for a realtor. This is not going to work for a realtor. A realtor is not going to be able to list this property. This is potentially a very motivated seller, depending on their reason for wanting to move. This could be a very motivated seller. They don't have a lot of options. They can't call up Reese Nichols or Remax or some of these others. Somebody out there is like, Reese Nichols, who the hell is that? That's a big Kansas City group. So yeah, they can't call up a broker. They can't call up a realtor and list this property. And the reason why is there's no equity there. In fact, there's negative equity. They owe more than the property's worth. They're not going to be able to pay a realtor. okay, off the sale of the home. There's not enough room. The lender's going to want all of it and then some. So their options are limited. So depending on their drive and their passion to move, this could potentially be an incredible motivated homeowner. So how can you do a deal with a homeowner who is underwater like this? They owe more than the property's worth. Can it be done? Well, let's take a look at it. First of all, it is going to disqualify as an ugly house deal. Okay. It's going to disqualify as an ugly house deal because remember, on an ugly house wholesale deal, you got to get a discount because you're making a cash offer. So you're going to make a discounted cash offer, usually somewhere around 50, 60 cents on the dollar. So 50 to 60% of what the property's worth after repair value. All right. So this is not going to fit that. This doesn't fit that very well at all. My assumption is that this is a pretty house, that they live there and they want to move, but they owe more than the property's worth. What can be done? Well, that's a great question. Yes, you can do a deal here, but you have to do something on the creative side of real estate wholesaling, meaning you have to do a pretty house type transaction with them. Now, what I talk about all the time is lease options. Can you do a lease option with someone who has negative equity? Yes, sure you can. Yeah, it's a great option for somebody who has negative equity. Now, how do you do a lease option with somebody that has negative equity? Well, first of all, you're going to have to make sure that the house is livable. Okay. They're going to have to be able, the tenant buyer that you get, right, move in. And eventually that house is going to have to be inspected and appraised and a loan put on it at some point in the future. So it has to be in livable condition. All right. Secondly, the payment that the homeowner is making now on this over leveraged property, it has to still be within the fair market rent range for that neighborhood. For example, if the neighborhood has a $2,000 a month rental, that's normal for the neighborhood, $2,000 a month. If you go find a house or something in that neighborhood comparable to this one, you can rent one for a couple $1,000. How do you find that number out? Well, you can look on PropStream, okay, for a rent estimate. You can also go to rentometer.com. Some people like to call it rentometer. So you can go to rentometer or rentometer.com and also get a rent estimate. But so if the payment that the homeowner owes the mortgage company or mortgage companies on this over leveraged home, if it is $2,500 a month, but the neighborhood fair market rent, FMR, sometimes you see it abbreviated, is $2,000, this is not going to be a good deal. This is not going to be a good lease option deal either. Okay. If that is the case, you might need to walk away from this one, or the homeowner might have to be willing to put in a few $100s a month to keep the deal alive. Are they motivated enough to go ahead and move and pay a little bit on this mortgage? Okay. It's possible. It's possible, but the likelihood is pretty low. All right. They likely will want to move and just wash their hands of it. So you need to check to make sure the payment that's going to need to be made is still in the fair market rent neighborhood of the neighborhood. Okay. So that's one check you need to run on it. Now, that still doesn't solve the problem that they are over leveraged. Now, the example the question that he asked, he did put in the chats below that a little bit more information. And so let's go ahead and fill you in. He asked, can you get a deal, or can you still do a deal on a home with negative equity? Well, he goes on to explain in the comments of this post that the fair market value of this home is about 400,000. 400,000. Okay. So note that 400,000, that's what this property is worth, but they owe 454,000. Okay. Don't ask me how. I don't know how. Okay. I don't know how. Nate might know how. I don't know if he knows. I don't know how they got that far deep on a house that's worth 400,000. So there might be more to the story here that you want to turn the screw a little bit, Nate, and find out. Okay. When you're talking with this homeowner. But yes, $400,000 value, they owe 454,000. They are over leveraged by $54,000. Okay. So how do you do a lease option deal if the payment and the rent are comparable here? How do you do a lease option deal on a house that's this far over leveraged? Now, it wouldn't be hard if it was 1 or 2% because typically we're marking up the property for our tenant buyer side about 10%, typically. Okay. So how do we justify that, and how do we make this deal work? Well, let me just give you an example off of Zillow. Okay. I want to show you Zillow. I'm going to share screens with you here and take a look at Zillow. This is just a random property. I have no connection with this property. I have no idea even where it's at, to be honest with you. It's in Lee Summit. That's all I know. This is a house that was put on Zillow. I just randomly picked an address today. Kimbrough Circle. Okay, whatever. Now, down here on Zillow, they give us lots of great information on Zillow. Of course, there's pictures for this one and so on and so forth. You can see here's an overview. There's the map. Here's the features of the property. It's got parking spaces, when it was built, what type, single family, how many square feet, the lot square feet. And then you slide down and here's the Zestimate. Okay. And then they give you some numbers here about how things are pricing out in the zip code. Okay. You see this 64063. All right. So it's giving you some picture of the area, the neighborhood. But I want you to notice something here. If you slide over the menu here, you can go to the neighborhood. You see it says neighborhood. You can click neighborhood. All right. Now see, it changes the data it's giving you. And you can see here neighborhood stats. The first thing that it says is home values in this neighborhood have risen 3.8% over the past 12 months. That is an estimate of the rate of appreciation. Okay. So that's how we justify the 10% that we add on for our tenant buyer. This particular property example is appreciating at approximately just about 4% a year. So that means in 36 months, it should have appreciated close to 11, 12%, at least 10. Okay. So that's how we create our paycheck. But how do you do it when the property is that far underwater? Okay. Remember the value on the example property, the question, it was 400,000 and then they owe 454,000. Okay. So if this was the property, I would look it up on Zillow and I would find out that it's appreciating at almost 4% a year. Okay. So I'm going to take 400,000, which is what the property's worth today, and I'm going to add 4% to it, plus 4. And that's going to equal 416,000. Okay. But that's 1 year's worth of appreciation. Then I'm going to add another 4%. Okay. That's 432. That's 2 years worth of appreciation. Then I'm going to add another 4%. That's 449,000. That's 3 years of appreciation. Gets that property value estimated up to about 450,000. All right. I'm going to add one more 4%. That takes us up to $467,000. Remember, they owe 454. So now in 4 years, there's room. Okay. I should have shared this calculator with you. All right. So let's do it again. I'll share the calculator with you. I think you can see it now. $400,000 value, but it's appreciating at about 4% a year. So I'm going to add 4% to that. All right. That brings us to $416,000 in value in a year. Okay. I'm going to add another 4%. This is going to be year number 2, 432,000. Okay. Now I'm going to add another 4%. This is going to be year number 3. This is the 36-month term. That brings us up to 449,000. That's still not enough though, because remember they owe 454,000. So we're still $5,000 shy. So now I'm going to add another 4% for appreciation. This is year number 4. That brings us to 467,000. So if we were able to do the deal with the homeowner for 454,000 in 4 years with a 4-year term, we should still be able to pocket 13 or 14 grand. I hope that helps. So you have to extend the term to allow more time for more appreciation. Okay. That's how you do a horribly over leveraged property. You have to extend the term to create time. Time will create appreciation, and that appreciation will eventually catch up with what they owe, especially if it's being paid down. Okay, we didn't talk about that. If it's being paid down during the 4 years, now there's even a bigger spread. Okay, so you would need to do this deal as a lease option with at least a 4-year term. I would pitch 5 years. I'd say, listen, you're over leveraged. You understand that, right, Mr. Homeowner? You are over leveraged. You owe more than the property's worth. We can fix that. The payment seems okay with the rent. Okay, here's what we can do. I need you to give me 5 years. That's 60 months. Okay. In 60 months, we'll get this off the plate. Until then, we'll manage the property and the maintenance and the payment. Okay. So it's not a problem for your life, but we can't pay more for it than it's worth. Give us some time and we'll take care of it. Okay. So that is, I hope, what you need to get going on that, man. I hope that's what you need. All right. That's a great question. It's good to see everybody here in the Zoom room. We have quite a few participants here. We also have some folks watching out there. This is the public Q&A. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera if you're in the Zoom room. If you want to be in the Zoom room, it's www.zoomjustin.com. The password is money. What's going on, Dion and Kenny and Larry and Nate and Rick and Jerry? What's happening, brother? It's good to see you.
Good morning, Commander.
Good morning. Good to see you. Does anybody here in the Zoom room have any questions? Anything cooking right now that you'd like help on? Or maybe something we can talk about? Go ahead.
Hey, appreciate that you're going over that. Yeah, this situation, just to tell you some more things about it, they actually being deployed. They're the homeowners are both colonels in the Army, so they was asked to sell this house. So,
oh, okay. Well, they were asked to sell the house, so they were asked by the military to get their names off the deed.
Well, I was actually doing a follow-up call with the guy today to get a little bit deeper into it. I had a VA reach out to him.
Okay. Yeah, you'll want to find that out, man. I mean, if they have some kind of restriction where they have to get their name off the deed, okay, then about the only thing you can do is the similar technique, except make it subject to. Take the deed, leave the mortgage in their name, do a 5-year plan, 6-7-year plan with them. Okay, if they're motivated like that, this sounds like something that you might be able to do something with, man, even though it's not the prettiest of deals because of the over leveraged nature. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's, that's the best thing about creative real estate, guys, is there's no one exact right way. You know what I mean? You can do these things creatively in different ways. If I did this deal, it would look different than if Kenny did this deal. If Kenny did this deal, it would look different than what it would look like if Jerry did this deal, because we're all going to be creative about it in our own ways. We're going to use a slightly different paperwork, slightly different pitch, slightly different technique. Maybe you do subject to and I stick with lease options. So that's the beauty of creative real estate. You get to be creative. I find one of the problems people have with creative real estate is they're not used to being creative. When you come out of the job world, excuse me, or the military, either one, you're used to someone telling you, hey, be here at this time, leave at this time. Okay. While you're here in between those two times, I want to see this getting done. Oh, and don't let me catch you sitting down. Okay. Because I'm not paying you to sit on your ass. All right. How many of you ever been talked to by a boss that way? I have. Didn't like it.
That's the deal structure.
Say it again.
What do you have any material on deal structuring? I mean, that was my problem with this one. I was kind of in the blind on how to actually approach this guy. So I was like, well, how do you further educate yourself on actually putting deals together? So I wanted to know if you had any material on actual deal structure.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna have to mute you, Dion. You got a lot of noise there, man. Sorry. Yeah, that's a great question. Deal structure. Well, there's only a few strategies or techniques that you're going to ever use, really, probably. That's going to be the lease option stuff, either sandwich or assignment, one of the two. You're probably going to maybe get involved in a subject to at some point, and you're maybe going to get involved in a ugly house wholesale or maybe a joint venture. Okay, so that's 5 things. But with those 5 things, putting a deal together, like I was saying a minute ago, if I did a subject to deal and Kenny did a subject to deal, it would be similar, but still kind of different in its own way. Because there's so many things that can be negotiated. Everything in real estate's negotiable, 100% of it. So I've got a course on subject to, I've got courses on lease options. I've got courses on co-wholesaling, on ugly house wholesaling, on all that stuff. But I find that really the best way to get your technique and your deal strategy put together for a particular deal is to be in the VIP like you are, man, and just bring it out and say, hey, does anybody have any thoughts on how I can put this deal together and make it work? Because we love to talk about it like this, and it would be impossible for me to write a book or do a course and cover everything and every possible scenario that you're going to come up against. This is not going to, maybe one day I'll be genius enough to do that. But right now, today, man, I'm just not smart enough. I'll be honest with you.
No, I just try to get, I guess it's like what you're saying, how we so programmed to just follow orders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just believe like with the normal school system and everything, you're so scared to mess things up or fail to where you just overthink the situation. So that's all. That's what happened with this one. Because when I seen the house, I'm not gonna lie to you, I got kind of intimidated. I mean, this place is real nice.
Yeah. Well, I understand that, man. It can be intimidating, and the numbers are kind of big. I mean, that's 450,000. That's more cash than any of us have ever seen in our lives, right? I mean, you don't run into $450,000 stacked up on a table anywhere unless you're involved maybe in making movies or what they make movies about. It's an absurd amount of money. It really is. It's huge, and it can be intimidating, but I will tell you the fact is that people that have nice houses and nice areas, they have nice money or have had nice money, they are also used to making money decisions. All right. Now, with that said, that means they're easier to work with. If all I've ever had is a $30,000 mobile home, that's all I've ever had, and you call me, I'm scared, because that's all I've got. That's all I've ever had. And that's all I ever hope to have is what little equity I've scrapped together out of this mobile home. That's a tough character. That's a tough sale. That's a hard one because he's scared. But the guy that has a $500,000 property and he makes $250,000 a year between he and his wife, oh, he's used to making big money decisions and he's not so scared. He's easier to talk to, easier to work with. He's quicker to make money decisions too that are big like this. So in that respect, they're easier to work with. In the other respect, the flip side, maybe a little more savvy too. Okay. But in this case, how savvy can they really be? They owe $454,000 on a $400,000 property. They are the ones with the problem, not you, Mr. Nate. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you call them, you talk to them with that in mind, that, hey, they are the one with the problem, not you. You didn't make a dumb decision and get $50,000 in debt on a property more than it's worth. Somehow they did. Okay. So, just keep things in perspective. Just keep them in perspective, man. You'll be fine. Don't let the big numbers scare you. Shouldn't.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about the job thing and being programmed, we get programmed to do a certain way and think a certain way, and being creative and thinking out of the box is something that it takes time to develop. And it takes people around you, the coaching and the VIP club and people to help you, take a look at a deal in a different way, or, hey, you could do this. How about if you took this much down, but you increased the purchase price in this? And, those might not be natural thoughts for somebody that's new at this. But surrounding yourself with people that are all trying to escape the job or have escaped the job and have kind of developed some of these creative thought lines can help. They can add. So that's why I'm a firm believer in the VIP club, man. But it will take some practice and some timing. People ask me all the time. They're like, hey, you're on the phone call. How do you know what to offer the guy before you get off the phone? Man, because I've been doing it a while. That's it. If you can't put it together that fast, hey, that's cool. I didn't used to either. I used to have to get off the phone and say, hey, Mr. Homeowner, sounds great. I love everything I'm hearing. What I need to do is I need to go do some research and get my thoughts together on this. And if I call you back today at 3:30, you might even say, if you're in the VIP club, you might even say, hey, I've got to get my thoughts together on this, do some research, and I need to confer with my partners. Okay. Yeah. I might need to confer with my partners. And if I call you back today at 3:30, will you pick up and can I make you an offer? Okay, you will. Okay. At 3:30, if I make you an offer that's comfortable, what happens next? Okay. There's nothing in the world wrong with that. You just took this from a 1-call close to a 2-call close because you were unsure what to do. Hey, no problem. No problem. This is creative real estate. You can't mess up. I mean, hardly. The biggest mess up in creative real estate is just not doing it. Yeah. I've had to backtrack on things I've said how many times? God, 100 million, more than I can recount. Kenny, have you ever had to backtrack on something you said with a homeowner in the first call and you had to go back and you're like, yeah.
Best, but you have to come back. The main thing is, my grandpa would say, if you take action, those of y'all have heard me on different things, if you do something, even if it's wrong, but if you do nothing, somebody else is going to get your deal, or that seller, unfortunately, didn't get their problem solved. You have to think about your job is to, solve their problem, and you're letting them down because you're overthinking. And Justin's right. Throw that stuff out in the VIP group. There's somebody in there. I promise you're going to get more than the same answer, right, Justin?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's going to give you a different point of view. It's not that they're wrong. It's just that they lean to this side. That's all. I mean, some of you guys, I'm left-handed. Some of you guys in here are right-handed. you're going to do certain things a certain way because you reach that way. And that's your go-to stream. And you're going to get 3 different answers if you put that narrative in there. Hey, I'm working with this guy. Nobody's giving you the wrong answer. But remember, you're the one that knows all the facts. Nobody giving you an answer knows all the facts.
Right.
But take action. That's what Justin's telling me.
Yeah. Dion, you got your hand up, man. What were you?
Yeah. How you guys doing this morning?
Doing great, man. Blessed.
Good.
How are you, sir?
I'm awesome. I got no complaints. And I was just, I was thinking about something. We sent out the text blast to the, I got to do the Zillow text blast. And if you get someone that gives you a yes or maybe, obviously you want to call them. Do I need to even, because does the fact that they've already said yes or maybe allow us to kind of get around some of the stuff in the, in the agenda, the qualification part? Does that shorten that up, or do we need to kind of go through the whole thing and not even mention that we sent them a text and just use that as knowing that they're open to it?
Yeah, great question, Dion. Good to see everybody here in the chat too, Lionel. Good to see you, bro. That's a VIP guy right there. Edward Porter too. Todd and Charlie. Dion, the answer to your question is, if you send out a text message that says, "Hi, my name is Dion. I'm an investor. I saw your property online. Is this something you would consider leasing for 24 to 36 months before selling at your full asking price?" And they respond back, "Sure," or "Can we talk?" or anything other than no. The question is, if I understand right, does that kind of warmness to the lead allow you to kind of get a little more loose with the agenda and the qualification and the closing?
Right.
3 stages of the guts conversation. How you convert that deal, that lead into a deal. Well, the answer in short is no.
All right.
And the reason why is because I have many times, many times, thousands of times, sent that same kind of message out, which you would think is crystal clear. That text message, pretty clear. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And gotten on the phone, and just to hear them tell me right away that they're not interested in a lease or a lease option or a rent to own or any of that stuff. I've also spent time on the phone before I knew what I was doing a little bit better, 20 minutes, 25 minutes with a homeowner just for them to tell me they weren't interested in a lease. And my thought is, well, you said yes on a text message 30 minutes ago before I called you. What has changed? Nothing's changed. They just wasn't paying attention. That's what I really believe. They got a text message. They said, "Oh, somebody's interested in the house." Yeah, I tell them, "Yeah, we can talk to them later." They didn't put 2 cents worth of thought into what you said in the text message. So the text message isn't really pre-qualifying them. It's not really pre-qualifying them. You're still going to have a lot of people who don't understand what that means even. As simple as it may be to you and me, as crystal clear as it may be. So you have to go through the work, and I say the work because it is work, but it's only 3 minutes if you're doing it right. 3 minutes of setting the agenda and doing the qualification questions.
Right. But I'm saying, as far as revealing myself as the person that sent them the text,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Is because if I go through all of that, then I'm acting as if I don't know that they have some level of interest. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It works either way for me. If I put in the text message, "Hi, I'm Justin," I'll have people sometimes say, "Hey, you text me this morning?" Yeah, that was me. Okay. Well, you were asking about a lease and then buy. What do you mean? Okay. So sometimes that happens. And if that does happen, I'll say, yes, exactly. I'm glad that you're talking with me here. What I want to do is I want to ask you a few questions, let you ask me a few questions. And if it's not a good fit, you can fire me. See, I'm right back into the agenda.
Right.
Now, if I don't include my name in the text message and I just say, "Hi, I saw your property online. You know, I was interested in it. Would you consider blah, blah? And they sent back an affirmative, positive response or something not negative. And then I call them. Now I really do need to go through the entire process of saying, hey, my name is Justin. I'm an investor and I'm looking to get another property deal today. I saw this one. I wanted to call you and ask you a few questions. Let you ask me a few questions. And if it's not a good fit, you can fire me. Because you want them to know right away, even then, even though you said, and I wish you guys would attest to this with me, because even though you say, hey, I'm a real estate investor, I'm looking to get another property deal today, and I saw this one online, wanted to call you and ask you a few questions. You asked me a few questions. If it's not a good fit, you can fire me. At the end of the conversation, in the closing section, what question do we get a lot? Are you going to be living in the house? Okay, no, listen, the text message said I was an investor. The agenda, I said I was an investor. What I want to do is I want to put some good people in there, and I want to make a little money doing it because I'm an investor, but I also want this to be a great solution for you. Is that reasonable? Can we move forward? Okay, even though you've said it 2-3 times, they just don't get it, man. You know, and that's the way it is with a lot of homeowners. So it's important that you don't skip the agenda and qualification sections, because it's important to baby step these people through the idea, even though you think you told them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one other thing too, while I got you, the way my job has been set up, I've been spending a lot of time there, but I had set up my my text blast to go out, and I thought I was going to have time to get back to these people, and I just been swamped and really haven't had time. So pretty soon I'll just I'll have a couple of days off in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to kind of load up on the days that I know I'm going to be off, and I'll have time to call, because I've been setting it up to do 100 texts a day, but I had people responding. I hadn't been able to get back to them. So, you know, obviously I don't want to lose them, so I will get around to calling them. But I think if just asking your opinion, it would make more sense, even if I have to do more on one day, more texts in a day to get to my 500, but make sure I'm able to get to them in a more timely fashion. Because I was just setting it up because I thought I was going to have time, but I ended up not having time.
I'm going to set you free, bro. I'm going to set you free and everybody else out there, because we're all struggling with it. And if you're not, then you've learned this lesson already. But until you do, you struggle with it. And here's the thing. When it comes to leads, there's only 2 places the ball can fall. Either not enough or too many. That's it. I got not enough leads. Well, you know when you don't have enough, right? When you're not hitting target numbers, you know that. You know that if you get leads today, they're still, most of them are still just as good 2 days from now, 3 days from now, 5 days from now, maybe even next week. Okay. So when you generate leads, you're either going to generate not enough or you're going to generate too many. And some of them are going to sit there waiting on you. Now, it's good to have consistency and have time frames where you do certain things week to week, every week. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I make my outbound calls and I close deals and I make follow-up calls. I know that every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's my life. That's my schedule. That's my routine. That's my habit. Okay, that's important. But I'm not sweating the leads. If they came in on Thursday this week, and I got way more than I need for the week, I call what I can on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know what? There's still a dozen leads sitting there I ain't touched. I'm sitting on the couch now. I'm feeling guilty. Watching Netflix, feeling guilty because I got leads in there I didn't call. And damn it, I've got leads in there. Man, I'm such a loser. I'm lazy. What's wrong with me? You know what I mean? I want to set you free, dude. Either you got not enough leads or you got too many. Don't beat yourself up over not getting to them quick enough, or not. Some of them I don't even ever get to. I'll just be honest with you. There's some leads I never get to. Well, there's probably a deal in there somewhere. Oh, okay. Yeah, probably. But shit, I'm only able to do what I can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I'm giving it
Yes, sir.
100%, if I'm trying to work this consistent routine in my business, great. If I've got more leads than I can get to, perfect. That's what I want. That's the perfect problem. The imperfect problem is I don't have enough leads.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. I would be more concerned if you said, Justin, I just don't have enough leads. I'm struggling. I'd say, well, man, we got to do some work, me and you, on automated REI or something. We'll talk about this. Okay, but if that's not the problem, if you got more leads than you can get to, or than you are getting to, man, that's optimal.
We're gonna get it cranked up and get it going. Thanks.
You're welcome, brother. Appreciate you. Anybody else got any questions right now in the Zoom room?
Yes, I do, Justin.
Yeah. Okay. What's going on?
Hiring a VA. What
Yeah.
phone number do you give them to make the calls?
When you hire a VA, what phone number?
Yeah, how do they make the calls?
Yeah, great question. A couple different ways are popular. One is Skype. Skype, you can buy a US number for them to use. It's, I believe, less than $20 a month to have a toll. It's like no charge when they use it, as long as they're calling the United States and Canada. But the base price is, I think, $18-19. And yeah, so that's one way, Skype. And I've heard recently, I haven't tested it, but I've heard they can even record their calls now. So I don't know if that's true, but I heard that.
So they can use Skype number to call the customers?
Yeah, you can buy a number, a local number in the United States, and have them use that. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is a website called Vumber. V like Victor, UMBER, Vumber.com. And it's pretty cool that way too. So they can call from there into the United States. Vumber has a few features in it that I really like. Like it'll track when somebody calls them back, and it'll record all these interactions. And so you can go in and monitor and listen to an entire conversation, so that's,
I would buy that number and then give them the number.
yeah. With Skype, you'll have to give them the ability to log in. Okay. So you'll create a Skype account that you can use, your virtual assistant can use. And then you'll in that account purchase that number that they can call into the US and Canada too. Although I don't know why they'd call into Canada for you, but they could. And then on Vumber, it's the same way, except Vumber, for some virtual assistants, it does not work. Okay, because you need a cell phone. So yeah, you can actually sign up on Vumber and assign people like in your team. Okay, so you can have different numbers too. So Vumber's a little bit more designed for this, but Skype is the budget guy's way of doing it.
Okay.
If that helps, I hope that helps, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good question, Jerry. I like you, dude. You're a good man. So any other questions here in the room? Or I'll take a written question maybe. Let's do that real quick. Somebody said, good evening. I'm having trouble calculating ARV on a lead. The home is officially a 2-2, but the property has a detached garage with a 1-bedroom apartment built on top. Should I compare both properties based on the official beds and baths? Okay, so it's a 2-2, but it has a detached garage and it has an apartment on top, a 1-bedroom apartment on top. How do you do comparables on that? Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. And we're open here for discussion too in the Zoom room if you guys want to add some comments or ideas. The question I have in return to this question would be, Are the apartment and the house separately metered? In other words, the electric company, do they have 2 meters? Like they can turn on the house and turn off the garage, or vice versa? If they are not separately metered and they're on the same property plat, meaning they're on the same yard, according to the county, then you have to consider it as one. Okay. One property. Can't be, hey, good to see you too, Kenny. Thanks for stopping in, man. Thank you, dude. Yeah, you have a blessed day. Yeah, so you'll have to consider it as one property, even though it's got that detached garage and it's got an apartment up there, and technically somebody could rent it out. Okay, yeah, they could do all that stuff, but legally speaking, according to the tax guy in the county, this is just one property. So you can't really go with the 2 property idea. So how do you comp a house that's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but it has a detached garage, and the detached garage has an apartment above it? How do you comp that? Likely there are few, if any, comps for that exact situation. Okay. There's going to be 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, probably even 2 beds, 2 baths with a detached garage. But how many of those 2 beds, 2 baths with detached garage are going to have an apartment above the garage? Probably done as an afterthought by some homeowner along the way, created it for their college kid or for their mother-in-law. That's what we would call a mother-in-law suite or something like this. That's where you put your buddy after his wife kicks him out. You know what I mean? It's not officially another rental property. Okay.
I mean, to me, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about it. To me, it seems like you have to consider it a 2-2. Because I mean, in reality, that little apartment above the garage is not a whole lot of value. I mean, it'd be almost like any other home improvement you might do, but you can't you can't get a whole lot of value out of it. At least that's what it seems like to me. It seemed like you have to just count it as a 2-2 with a garage, and that.
Yeah, you would have to count it as a 2-2 with a detached garage. And then you would advertise it if you were the realtor or the investor that picked this property up. You'd have to advertise it as mother-in-law suite above garage or something like this. This is a bonus room, and they might argue and say, yeah, but it has a kitchenette and it has a bathroom. You can toilet and everything in there. Okay, well, great. So what, now it's like a spare room with a bathroom in it. Okay, great. There's still no comparables for this. So you have to go with what the comparables are for the base house, which is a 2-2 plus a detached garage. And then you might be able to just throw a smidgen on top of that, but not much. Unfortunately, not all home improvements increase the value. Now, what's cool though, Dion, is if you or me were going to go buy that house, we would move in it and we would recognize that we could, let's say our payment was $900 a month. We could probably rent out that little place above the garage to somebody that's, working and collect $400 a month out of them. Hey, a savvy homeowner could do that. Most homeowners are going to let it sit empty, or they're going to put their kid up there. It's just going to be another bedroom. Okay, but it's not even really. Rick, do you have any thoughts on this? Being a realtor, is there a way to consider that part of the living square feet of the property, or probably not?
Yeah, I would probably ask to see if it's been like permitted or anything at all. I mean, It could have just been people that, had a teenager that wanted their little freedom and they just threw it together over a weekend, and it's nothing. It's just, hey, look what we did. But if they permitted it, then it may have actual, other avenues. Maybe you could add another meter to it. It could be a whole nother income generator for a potential investor, right?
Yeah.
So
So
there's variables there.
yeah, that's a great point, Rick. If they had it permitted, then yeah, it could. If the city, see, so in other words, when you get it permitted, you're going down to the county or the city or something, and you're saying, hey, I want to make this improvement onto this house, and it's going to add X amount of square feet. And they give you their blessing, and they'll say, okay, we're going to send out the inspectors, and we're going to take a look at your work, and you got to pay us this money for this sheet of paper. But once you have it, then the tax appraiser will increase your tax value because now you have more square feet, so we can keep track of the money. See, so it's all about the money and how it flows. If you don't have it permitted, then the county or the city doesn't know about it, and when you go to sell it, you can't count it. That's the rules. Can't count it. All right, it's unpermitted square feet. Unfinished basements, same way. You can say, well, Justin, there's 1,000 square feet down there. Well, yeah, but it's unfinished. It hasn't, nobody's gotten a permit and finished this out to code and all of this. Okay. So they don't allow you to count it. You can't count it. Same way with this thing above the garage, right? But maybe they did get it permitted. You have to ask that question of the homeowner. So if you run into a situation like this, and you will, you just have to dig a little deeper and find out if they got a permit when they did the work, or if it's just some like weekend project Rick was talking about for the kid, you know. Great question. I think Harold. No, I don't think it was Harold. Harvey. We have a Harold and we have a Harvey. I think Harvey sent that question in. I appreciate it, Harvey. Anybody else have any questions here in the Zoom room currently? Okay, let's pop over to another written question. Hi, everybody. I'm curious how everyone does the monthly rent payments. Now, he's talking about a lease option here. Does that come off the total sale amount, or is that just cash in the seller's pocket? I know my profile button got in the way here, but it says if the seller has a mortgage, then some would pay for the mortgage. All right. So let me break this down where you can understand it, because that was a bad screenshot. He's wanting to know if when a tenant buyer moves in and does the deal with you on your lease option property deal, and let's say they're paying $1,000 a month, and let's say the house is worth $100,000, just for ease of numbers here. When they pay the $1,000 a month, does that come off the $100,000 purchase price? No, it does not. If it did, sign me up, baby. You know what I mean? That's the cheapest damn house ever. For real. If I signed up a deal where it's $100,000 and I pay $1,000 a month, but that $1,000 comes off the $100,000, I'll own this thing in 100 months. That's like what? How many? That's like 8 years. I'll pay this thing off. That's like a no interest kind of loan. No, that's not what this is. It's a lease option. A lease, y'all know what that is. A lease is a lease. It's a rent. An option is the option to purchase. Okay. The option to purchase. So the rent is just rent. The option to purchase is just an option to purchase. Plain and simple. No rent payment comes off the purchase price. These are two mutually exclusive ideas. Now, I have buddies and I have friends, and I have in the past myself done it, where I have been generous, I thought, and given them what's called a rent credit. So listen, Mr. Tenant Buyer, if you make your $1,000 a month payment every month on the 1st, if it's not late, every month that it's not late, I'll give you $100 credit off the purchase price. We talked about doing this the other day. I don't do it. No. I don't do it. I don't do it because I'm scared. Okay. I'm scared of Dodd-Frank. I'm scared of the Men in Black. I'm scared of the FBI. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, in some municipalities, this is very much looked down upon, because when you're doing rent credits, it's almost like you're doing some kind of owner finance thing, but you didn't give them the deed, and you could evict them if you want. And they're going to look at you like, you're trying to play a fiduciary role here without being licensed and permitted. Okay. I don't want that. All right. So I don't even mess with the rent credits. Rent is rent. Purchase price is purchase price. The non-refundable option fee they give me up front, the down payment, now that comes off the purchase price. Sure. But no rent payments do. Okay. It's very clean, very simple. That's how I like to keep it. Rent credits and this and that. And I've even got it in my contract. I don't use this aspect of it, where the first 12 months is $1,000 a month. And then the second 12 months is $1,150. And then the third 12 months is $1,250. Okay. I don't do that either. I just want it clean, simple, easy. $1,000 a month for 36 months, buy at $100,000. Okay. Your down payment comes off that $100,000, no rent. These two ideas don't merge. You pay the rent, you buy at that price. That's it. Real simple, real clean. Okay. So I hope that was a help for somebody out there. I don't remember who asked that question. Let's take one more question here, written. If anybody in the room has one too, we'll take that one. Here's one. Hey, Justin, I know we talk a lot about guts as well as setting the agenda and disqualifying the prospect, but how about the eviction process? Say worst case scenario. I heard it can be a bitch getting a tenant out of your property, possibly even having to get a lawyer. Well, you know, if you're doing a lease option and you're assigning the deal, that's one thing. You're assigning your part of the deal, your role in the deal. You are assigning it over. You're selling it to the tenant buyer for that non-refundable option fee. Okay. You are no longer, after that, you are no longer involved. Technically, you do not even belong in the deal anymore at all. If they were to take that before a judge or an attorney or anywhere, they would say, oh, well, Mr. Justin assigned this deal over to Mr. Rick. Mr. Rick is not making the payment. That's the problem. Okay, well, Mr. Rick, it's your ass. They're not going to bother me. I assigned my deal over to him. I'm gone. I'm out. Adios. Au revoir. All right. So I've got no risk in that deal. If I stay in the deal as a sandwich lease option, okay, now if Rick stops making the payment, I haven't assigned my deal away. Guess who becomes responsible all of a sudden? Mr. Justin does. So that's why I encourage you to be very smart about doing sandwich lease options. Make sure there's enough money in it for you to make it worth the risk. When you get a non-refundable down payment or option fee from the tenant buyer, make sure that you put a percentage of it away for a rainy day in case Rick stops paying. So you have to pick up a month or two, you'll have some. Okay, so eviction becomes the seller's problem if you're doing an assignment. All right. They own the property. They have to do the eviction. Evicting people right now during COVID-19, maybe it is a bitch. I don't know. But I can tell you what, pre-COVID-19, maybe in some places it's a bitch, but most of the country, the court system is a machine with teeth and it eats people all fucking day and spits them out at night. That's it. They ain't got no problem evicting people, and they'll get that shit done reasonably quick. Because they do it all day long, every day, and they know exactly what they're doing. They don't give a shit what nobody says. This is a machine and it does what it does. Okay. That's my experience. Dion, question.
No, actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to piggyback off what you said about about the lease option tenants, because I'm going through that right now, and I just wanted to lend some real life experience to this so people could truly understand that I got into a sandwich deal with someone, and they stopped paying the rent, and now the owner is after me because they haven't paid, because obviously that tenant was subleasing from me, and what I did not do was put some of that money away, to hang on in the event that they didn't pay. So the things that you said you should do, I didn't do. It was my first deal, so I screwed it up or whatever. But just so anybody else out there in Zoom land that hasn't done one or is looking to do it, if you sublease, I would suggest having at least 3 months worth of rent payments to hold on for the months they don't pay and the time it's going to take you to get them out.
Dion, how would you think I learned this myself? How do you guess I learned this?
Oh, I'm sure you probably took a kick in the seeds a couple times too, right?
I did the same. I made the same exact mistake, man. So I'm just saying you're not alone, bro. Okay, you're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of us have been through that same thing, and we learned it, man. And some of us learned because somebody told us, and some of us learned because we didn't hear it and we went through it ourselves. We didn't catch the news.
Absolutely.
And shit, it's an uncomfortable scenario. The only thing I can tell you, man, is just to deal honestly and as transparently and as friendly as you can with the homeowner. That's it, man. When I was in that scenario, I called the homeowner and I just said, hey, listen, man, here's the story. Times are tough. This pandemic shit's going on. I couldn't say that, but you could. And this is the scenario. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not trying to run out on you either. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to come up with a scenario where we can get those folks to move out peacefully. So I'm going to call them and I'm going to work with them if I can to get them to go ahead and just move, because you just want the house back in decent shape. Right. So that's all we offered the guy an opportunity to just move. I talked to the homeowner and she said, hey, if he decides to move, I'll just take the house back. But he decided he wants to live there. So actually what she offered me was, hey, as soon as the payments get caught up, I'll take him. He'll be my tenant, but the payments have to get caught up and I'll take him. Yeah, there you go.
But to your point, just having that open and honest conversation, you can get some things done. Yeah,
absolutely, man. And that's the only alternative, man. That's the only thing you can do. Or you could go into the witness protection program yourself, and that's a shitty way to live, man. Avoiding the phone all the time. You ever get, it gets so bad in your life, like the phone rings and you automatically get anxiety because you don't know who the hell it might be. And man, I've been there. I know. And the only way to deal with that is just absolute raw, unmitigated honesty, and just confession cleanses the soul, and also allows that homeowner to become a partner with you in fixing the problem. And in every case that's happened to me, and I'm ashamed to say that's happened to me at least 3 times in my career when I started out. And before I learned, man, talk about slow learner. It took me 3 times to figure it out, man. But once I figured it out, in every case, the homeowner was, pissed, scared, but thankful that I was there to talk to him about it and like honest. You know what I mean? So, it's a shitty deal, but you'll never do it again. You'll never make that mistake again.
Not like this. No way, no how. That's right.
Well, I tell you what you could do. You could assign your deal over to the tenant buyer right now and walk off. So the homeowner doesn't realize that, but you probably could, unless your agreement is not assignable. But I did that. I did that too probably 15 years ago. And man, that pisses the seller off too. Whew. Man, I've made some mistakes, guys. And you're going to make mistakes too. Don't sweat them. But you guys are in a better place than me. I didn't have the VIP club. I didn't have anybody giving me much advice at all. I mean, I had a course off eBay, so that it wasn't too comprehensive. We've been here a little over an hour, guys. Anybody have any other questions or anything they'd like to share here in the VIP, in the Zoom room? I mean, real thankful for everybody watching out there, Ed and Lionel and Rick and Nate and Larry and David and Jerry and Dion. Thanks for being here in the room with us, man. Appreciate it, guys. And I'm sure there's some other folks over here on the Facebook VIP group. Let me take a look real quick before I jump off here to make sure nobody put a question in there. I love to take care of my VIP people. And
I have one.
yeah, what you got?
Who rules teaches to close the lease options with an attorney, a title company? What is your thought on that?
Yeah, Ron LeGrand teaches this, and he's like, hey, once you get your seller lined up, you can contract that yourself, contract the seller. But then when you get your tenant buyer lined up to move into the deal, have an attorney sit down with them and make it official and do all this shit and whatever. Okay. There's nothing in the world wrong with that, other than that's hard for a new guy to do. You know what I mean? Like, here's a question I was asking, do I have a big ass office, like where people can park and walk in and it feels all official? Do I have a big wood desk in some empty room where they can sit at and I can bring in an attorney? Do I have an attorney willing to come over here and do that? Is he going to sit down over here and close these people and make it all official and everything and make it honestly more scary for them, to be honest with you?
Right.
Okay. Is that really, what the fuck, man? I don't need, that's a show. That's a show, in my opinion. Okay. Not a bad show, a good show, if you can afford it. But I don't do that stuff because, one, it's kind of a waste in my model. It would be a waste for me. And two, it's just not necessary. You don't need an attorney to help you close a lease. I mean, we've all signed leases before, right? And there was no attorney sitting anywhere.
Yes.
And none of us need an attorney to have the option to purchase something. So we've all had the option to purchase something before and no attorney was around anywhere. So we don't have to have an attorney for the lease or the option. So the only time you really need an attorney or a closing attorney or a title company is at the end of the term or whenever your tenant buyer is going to buy. That's when the actual deed is going to change. That's when you need the attorney or the title company. So really nothing that you as the wholesaler need ever. If you're doing assignment lease options, you don't really need them ever. Now, if you're doing somebody asked this question too, this was a written question and I'm going to just go with it without showing it to you. But, somebody was asking me how then, if it's just a lease and an option to purchase, how does the tenant buyer actually buy the house what do they have to do to buy the house from the seller? Okay. Great question. In your documents, your lease and option, if you're using mine and most others, it will say that the tenant buyer, before exercising their option to purchase, so before they get ready to buy, they have to notify the homeowner 30 days in advance. That's what most contracts read. Now, 30 days in advance, how do they notify in writing? It usually says notify the homeowner in writing 30 days in advance before they want to exercise their option to purchase. So how do they do that? It's real simple. How does the tenant buyer notify that homeowner that they are ready to buy? By filling out a purchase and sale agreement, signing their name on it, and sending it over for his signature. That's it. Because up until this point, there has been no true purchase and sale agreement, only an option to purchase agreement. That's not a purchase and sale. That's an option to purchase. So when they're ready, they have to fill out this purchase and sale agreement, get it over to the homeowner. The homeowner signs it. Now that document goes to the title or the closing attorney so that they can close. That's how I do it. But I'm not saying Ron LeGrand's wrong. I mean, that he's my granddaddy, right? So, I mean, but I don't need all that stuff. I hope that long-winded answer was helpful, man. Good question, Jerry. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Justin, I got a question.
Yeah, what's up?
When you're dealing with pre-foreclosures, like somebody that you know is in pre-foreclosure, with the taking them through the qualifications, how do you bring that up if they're hesitant to bring it up?
Yeah. You'll bring it up in the qualification section, like you were saying. You'll ask them why they want to sell, and if they're avoiding the question, well, we're wanting to move because we're tired of this house, but they've got from data on PropStream or something that they are in pre-foreclosure. They're definitely in default of some kind. Okay, I get that. So you're just going to have to be more direct with them. And in the money question of the qualification section, where I usually ask, hey, how much is the property worth and what do you need to get for it? Okay. They're going to have some kind of answer. And then you're going to say, would you be late on payments or anything like this at this time? Are there any late payments? Or are there any, you got to dig. You got to dig a little bit. Okay. You could even bring it up, and I'll say, well, the computer for some reason shows that this house is in pre-foreclosure. Are you guys aware of this? Yes, they are. But this is a way for them to kind of, oh my goodness, we are. Well, what's going on? Yeah. Or it gives them an opportunity to flush out, man. You're a cop, you know how to do it, right?
Yeah, interrogate them.
Yeah, you got to interrogate them a little bit, man. But you can do it in a nice way, but I wouldn't be so concerned about their feelings either, that you baby step around everything. You can be the doctor that says, hey, listen, the tests say that you have cancer. Okay. But I do have a regimen of therapy where we can handle this. Okay. Do you think the doctor enjoys saying that? No, he doesn't, but he has to. So, you have to, as the investor, sometimes just say, hey, listen, it looks like there's something going on here, or you guys wouldn't be in pre-foreclosure, would you? Okay. If they don't want to talk about it, man, they won't. But if they're open to doing something with this property, and a lot of them will be, then they'll open up. You just got to dig. Yeah. I wish I had a more gold ringer kind of answer for you, David.
No, that helps. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I saw a hand up in the room too, real quick. Larry had something? Larry, nice to see you, man. I don't know if we've met before, but it's good to see you. Okay. Anybody? All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate everybody out there. Thank you for participating in the Zoom room. I really, really do appreciate it, guys. We wouldn't have a club if it wasn't for you. Okay. But as it is, we have, I think, what is the best real estate club ever in the history of the earth. I love you guys. Have a blessed rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Okay. If you know where to find me if you need me. All right. All right,
See you
guys.
later, guys.
Bye, Jerry.
Hey,
Bye,
guys.
Michael. Michael, good to see you, man. Dion, Larry, Nate, Rick, David, everybody out there. Hey, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.